All right, guys. Again, I'm recording now, and so I just wanted to kind of repeat what we just started doing. We are making our own custom 3D world with Unity today. I'm going to walk you guys through how to do it. To do it, we're going to be downloading some assets that allow us to put things into our game, like trees, mountains, um, snow, grass, whatever. And this is all located here in Empower in our playlist. It's called Custom Terrain Game Level. This is where I have the videos. This is where I'm going to put the video of today, and this is where to find the assignment, and this is where you'll go to turn in the screen recording once you have made your own custom 3D world with your own mountains, trees, city, buildings, whatever you want to put in it. And keep in mind, so the way to start this out, guys, is open up the Unity Hub again. Open up the Unity Hub and go to Projects, New Project, New 3D Project, and call it. Make sure you choose a spot to save it in that you're going to remember. I recommend the desktop if you forget where you save things. For me, I have one folder where I put all my Unity games in my Documents folder, but you can put it wherever you want, but call it, put your name in it, and then call it, Custom 3D World. All right, and hit Create. It'll take a while to open up, but once it does, see if mine's open yet. Yep, mine opened up. If you guys ever get this where it says, hey, do you want to install the new version of Unity? Just say no. Basically, you don't need that for now. And the new version sometimes can cause errors with some of the tutorials that we're going to be going through. So don't do that. And let's see. Eduardo, I see you just joined us, so I got you marked as here, buddy. All right. So basically, here we're in Unity, right? First things first is you need to make your Unity look like mine. All right. And if you are like me and you ever accidentally, delete one of these windows and if it just looks weird, you guys can always reset this view in Unity by going to Layout in the upper right-hand corner and click on Default. And there's different layouts here you guys might prefer. There's this one I really like too called 2x3, where it has the scene view right here, the game view, the hierarchy, the project, which I usually click and drag this down here, and then the inspectors over here. Remember, you can always resize these windows. The big thing is making sure that your scene view is the biggest window, because that's going to be where you're making this 3D game world. So I would highly recommend to go to Layouts in the upper right-hand corner, click on Default, and now you have the scene view, which is really big. And yeah, that's kind of how I recommend to do it. In fact, I'm going to click and drag these to make my scene view even bigger. There we go. I like that. And so you've got your project window over here. Remember, the project window is everything that you could use in the game. It shows up here under your assets in different folders. The hierarchy is everything that's in this current level, or scene is what Unity calls it. The scene view is where you can see the whole game from up high, kind of like, God mode or God view. And the game view is going to be what it's going to look like to the player when you press the play button and they were to play your game. And then the asset store, this is going to become our best friend for finding really cool things that we can use in our game. And what's really cool with the asset store, guys, is sometimes it's kind of hard to see it in this little tiny square right here. But you can also go to the internet and just search for Unity Asset Store on Google or wherever. And I think it's assetstore.unity.com. You can go here. You can log into your account, in the upper right-hand corner. Use your school Gmail address. And what I want you guys to download to add into your game so that we can put this stuff in there is the standard assets package. And that basically is all these really cool basic things that you need to make a game. All right. And they're free. So if you go to the asset store and type in standard and search for that, it should be the top result. And it says standard assets for Unity, and it's by Unity Technologies. It's free. And remember, anything in the asset store, you can always filter by free only by going into this pricing thing and clicking free assets only. And now it will display only the free assets, and it will show the most popular ones at the very top, which standard assets for Unity, that's what we want. So you click on this. You then click on open in Unity. And we click, yep, open link. That's fine. And now you can see the package manager pops up. And this is what kind of manages all the different packages that you could use in one of your games. And so right here in this package manager, it has the standard assets right here. And it says, hey, first you need to download this. This is the part that might take some of you a long time if you have a slow internet connection. This is 183 megabytes. So it's not super big, but it might take a while if you have a really slow internet connection. So that's where you guys might not be able to follow along today if you're not able to download these quick enough. But I've already got mine downloaded, thankfully. So once you download it and it's done, then you can click on this import button. And what it's going to do, it's going to prepare the package. And yeah, feel free, guys, while this is going, you can always browse through this asset store by clicking on assets, 3D assets, or whatever, and you can filter by, pricing, free only. And later on, you guys are going to be able to use any of these assets in your game, but just keep in mind as you start to download lots and lots of assets into your game, it might start to lag the game a little bit if you have a lot of stuff in your game. Even if you're not using it in the current scene or level, it can get a little bit slow if you have too many in there. So just keep that in mind. But the standard assets has a ton of cool stuff that you can use. And now that I clicked import and this pops up and it says, hey, which ones do you want to import? I want to import everything. So I'm going to leave everything checked. If they weren't checked, I'd click on all. And now I'm going to click on import. And this might take a little bit of time. And what it's going to do, guys, it's going to put a new folder in my project view, my project window under the assets folder. It's going to add a new folder with the name of this asset, which is the standard assets. All right. And again, this has like trees in it. It has cars. It has like grass textures. When I say the word texture, a texture is basically just a picture that you can map onto a 3D object, right? So like I could take a picture of my face and literally map that onto the ground and tile it so it's like repeated over and over. And that's the way you make grass look like grass in a game, is you just take a texture, a square picture of grass, and you tile it or copy it over and over in little tiny squares so it actually looks like grass from far away. If you zoom in way into it, you can kind of see that it's squared, but it's made in a way that that doesn't look that makes it look real. And what's really cool, guys, while this is downloading, I want to put some snow in my game because I'm going to show you guys how to make mountains in your custom 3D world. And so for the mountains, I want to put some snow on the top, and the snow doesn't come in that standard assets package. So here's what's really cool. You guys can download your own textures to use in your game world by going to Google and just type in snow texture, anything, and then the word texture, snow texture, and click on images. And you can see right here, it has these square snow images that I can basically put into my game. And to do that, find the texture you want, right click on it, and click on Save Image As. And here's where you want to save it into your game folder. So find out wherever you save your game. If you forget where you saved your game, you can go back into the Unity Hub and you can click on projects and find your game right here and click on the little 3 dots and click Show in Explorer. And it will actually pop up and show you where exactly on your hard drive on your computer this game saved at. And so now when I go to save this image, again, I found the image on Google Images, right clicked on it, click Save Image As, and I'm going to go find this game, and then I go into the assets folder of the game, and I'm going to save it right in there. I'm going to call it Snow Texture. Save that. And so let's go back to Unity using Alt-Tab to go back. And it looks like it finished importing all of these assets, so I can X out of this package manager now for a little bit. If I ever want to bring that back, remember, guys, all these windows you can bring back by going to Window and look for the window name here or in the General tab. Or if you just want to reset your view, you can go to Layouts and click Default. But pretty much here in my project folder, I've got my assets, right? And to open these folders up, you click the little arrows next to them to see what's inside of them. And you can see now there is a new folder in here called Standard Assets. And if I click on that, I can see what's inside of it by either here, I could click this little arrow right here. And basically in the project view, remember you guys can always move these windows around temporarily, but in this project window, it has a list of all these different folders that I can use, right? And if I want to see a list of this instead of these icons, I can move this little button down here and click and drag it to the far left. Now I've got a list. If I wanted to see big icons, especially if you're going into something that has like little 3D models in it, you can see pictures of them by moving this to the far right, and see now it has like icons so you can see what it is. So either way, sometimes it's easier to have a list of all the names. Sometimes it's easier to have little icons so you can see a picture preview of what it is. But for now, we don't need to use these standard assets yet. First, I just want to show you how to create some ground on here, some what we call terrain, which is what you can walk on, what you can make mountains out of, what you can put trees on. You know, the first step to a game is you got to have the ground, right, to walk on. And so let's do that. So basically, we're here in the scene view, and we're going to go ahead and click on Game Object on the menu up top, 3D Object, and right here you can see there is a terrain. All right, so we're going to click again, Game Object, 3D Object, Terrain, and boom, there is our terrain. And notice the way I'm moving around here, guys, on the scene view is with a mouse. If you don't have a mouse, it is going to be really hard to use Unity. I highly recommend you get one. Mr. Dearly has been awesome enough to make them available to you guys. If you need a mouse, email me and I will forward that on to Dearly, and he's going to have some at the front office at Lindsay High School. So if you want to stop by and pick up a mouse, you can. If you don't have one, you can find them on Amazon for like $5. Highly recommend it. And what I'm using right now to move around is the scroll wheel in the middle of the mouse can allow me to zoom in and out. If I hold the right click button on my mouse, or for you guys on your touchpads on your laptop, you can also hold the right touchpad button. And if you hold that, then you can pivot and look in all directions around. If you click the scroll wheel button in and hold it down, you can kind of strafe to the left or right, up or down. And if you are on a touchpad and you don't have a mouse, you can also do that by clicking up here on your tools. In the toolbar, you click on the hand tool, and now you can click and drag to the left, right, up, or down. That really helps you move around as well. And then on a touchpad, you could use the pinch in or pinch out, just like on an iPhone, to zoom in or zoom out as well. But those are the tools. So the right click button, you hold it down, you can circle around as much as you want. And that's the way to move around. So now I've got this big giant square of land, right? But it just kind of looks weird. And I want to make it look like grass, because I want this to look like a nature scene. So what I'm going to do is, again, in these standard assets that we just downloaded, it comes with some textures for grass, for dirt, stuff like that. And so I want to put grass on all this. That's what I want to do. So I'm going to go and click on my terrain in the hierarchy menu. Again, the hierarchy under the scene shows you all the different game objects that you currently have in this scene or level. All right. And if you click on one of these objects, the details for it are then listed in the inspector on the far right-hand side. Things like the size, the position, the rotation, you can change here. And you notice under this terrain thing in the inspector, you've got these different toolbar buttons. The one I want you to look at right now is this one that says Paint Terrain, the little paintbrush. You click on that, and then you can go right here and you can change it to all these different things. But the one right now I want you to change it to is Paint Texture. All right. And so this is going to allow us to paint textures that are like little squares just repeated over and over, very tiny, so it looks real. And first we have to add those textures, right? And so right here under Terrain Layers, I'm going to click Edit Terrain Layers and Create Layer. And what it does right here, this shows all the picture files that are currently in this project in our assets folder, including all the ones in the standard assets that we just downloaded. And you can scroll down to look at all these, to find ones. The ones that look like trees, you don't want to use this, because this is a texture is something you're going to paint in little squares that repeat over and over. So you want something that looks like if it was tiled or copied over and over, it would look, it would look good. And so right here you can see under Cliff Albedo, that looks pretty good. But I want to scroll down. I think there's one for grass. You can also search inside this. So I could even type in grass and see what comes up. And this one looks like grass, but this would look weird if it was painted on top of this this 3D map, but this one right here is perfect. So I'm going to click on this grass hill albedo, double click, and whatever the first texture that you add to these terrain layers, that's the one that's going to put on the ground as kind of like the default look. So now if you zoom in or zoom out, you can see it looks like grass, but it's just lots of little squares of this grass texture repeated over and over to make it look like that. All right. I also want to have a dirt look, so I can make mountains that look kind of like dirt. So I'm going to edit terrain layers again, create layer, and go and look for one that looks like dirt. And let's see, that one looks pretty cool. Right here, this is a pretty good dirt one. So let's double click that, add that one. And I also want to add my snow one, which, remember, if you guys remember, I got that snow image from Google Images and right-clicked Save Image. I saved it in my Assets folder for this project that I had saved. And look it, now under Assets, there is my little snow texture. And so I can click on Edit Terrain Layers, Create Layer, and I could either look for it by scrolling down, or I can even type in and search for the name I gave it, which is snow. And there it is. Double-click this. And I've got these 3 textures. All right. So watch this. If I wanted to paint snow on top of this, I go to my paint texture or paint terrain, change the option to paint texture, go and click on this snow one. And now what I can do is look at, if I hover and click, look at, I'm drawing in some snow look. And there are settings, guys, that can change the way the snow looks. The snow doesn't look very white, right? Well, the reason for that is because if I scroll down to look at these different brushes that I have for painting this terrain, you've got different types of brushes. The circle one is just a pure circle. But if I change this opacity, that's basically how invisible the texture is. If I put it to 100%, it means that when I click a circle, boom, it's going to be pure white, or whatever that texture is, it's going to cover the grass with it instead of mixing them together by using that opacity setting, okay? If I want to change the size of my brush, I go here to brush size and I can increase it. So I could paint this whole thing as snow if I want, but I don't want that. So I'm going to go back a step, and remember, your best friend to fix mistakes you just made is going to edit, undo, or even more important is Control plus Z. So if I hold Control and tap on Z just once and then let go, tap it again, I can go back a step each time. And this brush size is obviously way too big, right? So I'm going to take this brush size and make it way smaller again. That's really tiny. So how about like this? There we go. And you can see there's different brushes here. There's a weird star brush right here I could use. Check this out. I could draw some little snow stars in here, whatever I want to do. And this is what's fun with Unity, is you can kind of start to play with stuff. But Control Z to go back. And what I want to do first is make some mountains to draw the snow on, right? So I'm going to, again, I'm using a combination of the right click to pivot, the scroll wheel to zoom in, and clicking the scroll wheel in, or the hand tool to move left, right, up, or down. And so what I want to do is I want to make some mountains. So I'm going to go back up here, again, click on terrain, the terrain game object in the hierarchy, go to the inspector, and look for this paint texture, little paintbrush thing. Change this from paint texture to raise or lower terrain. All right. Click on that. And we've got these different mountain brushes pretty much, or terrain brushes. And so if I use this brush, check out, look at this. Look at how it makes a mountain with this. I click once, it does that. If I click again and again, it makes taller and taller and taller. And if I want it to be more of a normal like hill, I would change this mountain brush or terrain brush to this one, which is kind of like diffuse and fades out. So look at, if I click this one, look what happens. It makes more of like a smooth looking hill. Also, guys, if you notice, I feel like my light in this scene is kind of dark, and you can see when you first have a default scene in your 3D game, you can see one of the objects that comes with it is directional light. This basically mimics the sunlight that we have here on Earth. And if you click on the directional light and look in the inspector, there is a option here called intensity, which is basically how bright the light is. And I want to turn mine up so you guys can see my scene a little bit better. So I'm going to click the intensity and drag it up, or I could just change the number right here from 1 to 2. And you guys can see, wow, it got a lot brighter, right? So you can click and drag these things up however that you want it to look, but I want mine to be a little brighter. So let's do that. Again, I clicked on directional light, went to the inspector, and turned the intensity up a little bit. So let's go back to our terrain, and let's go ahead and notice it tells you when you have raise or lower terrain selected on the brush. It says left click to raise, hold shift and click to lower. So if we hold shift and click, we can lower these mountains. All right, we can lower them all the way back down to nothing, right? And if I wanted to make like a lake, what I could do is make the brush really big, and I could like raise all of this terrain, and then I could go and make my brush really small. And now I could click this and hold shift, and I could lower the terrain right here. So now I'm kind of making these holes by raising all the terrain and then just lowering this part. And then I could put water in here so it looks like a lake's right there. So that's kind of cool. But for now, I want to add some mountains, right? So let's go and let's make our brush is a pretty good size. Let's go ahead and left click to raise. And I'm actually going to make my brush a little bigger. That's too big. Let's go like this. No, that's too big, too small. Here we go. So let's click and let's raise. Oops. Click back on terrain. Let's raise all this up a little bit. I'm going to make like a valley. So I want there to be mountains on either side. So I'm going to kind of go mountains here, 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 here. So I'm just clicking again and again and again to kind of start raising this up. And I'm using this, the brush I'm using on the terrain tool is this kind of diffuse one that kind of gradually adds a mountain to kind of make it look more like a hill. But if I want to make some mountains that look like real, jagged mountains like the Sierra Nevada mountains that we have here in Lindsay, I can change this brush. Check this one out. This was a really cool one. If I click this brush, look what happens when I click this now. See, now it kind of makes the mountains look a little bit more jagged and kind of crazy, right? So I'm going to do that at the tips to kind of mimic how they look in real life. And I could change this brush size to smaller if I wanted to just make the peaks really kind of craggy and mountainy. And then if you ever feel like the mountains start to look a little too like crazy and rocky, you could change this raise or lower terrain option on the paint tool in the terrain. You can change to smooth the height. And now check this out. If I click, it's going to start to kind of smooth out these tips right here, which is kind of nice for making it not look so jagged. So see how I'm using that? So you guys can see, if you guys are artists out there, this is the fun part. This is my favorite part of Unity, is like you basically are like a 3D artist, and you're kind of like drawing in these mountains and terrain features, land features based off of these different tools that you have, and mainly these different brushes that you can choose from. I can make a star mountain if I wanted. This is kind of weird. Look at this. I could, oops. Click back on terrain. Change this from smooth height to raise or lower terrain. I'm on the star brush now. Look at this. I could make this weird. Oops. Kind of looks strange. So I have like a little star mountain now, but it's kind of lame. I don't really want that. I just wanted to show you guys what you can do. Control Z, 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 Z. All right. Now I want to add some snow. So first of all, I want to make my mountains look like dirt and then add snow on top. So I'm going to go back to my little paintbrush tool here, change this to paint texture, go down to those terrain layers where I added that kind of dirt looking one. And again, if you wanted to add more, you could go down to edit terrain layers and create layer to add more. But I'm going to click on my dirt one right here and change my brush from the star to this little like diffuse one right here. And I'm going to start drawing these mountains and make them kind of like look a little more dirty. I'm going to change my opacity from 100 to like maybe like 70% or something. So it's a little more fades in. Yeah, see, it's not really fading into that grass. It looks kind of unnatural. So I might lower my opacity even more. See how now I can kind of start to fade this dirt in to where the mountains are turning into mountains from the valley floor. And the more times I click, the more darker and dirtier it's going to become. So now if you just hold the click button down too, you can do that to really paint over everything. And the mountains, near the bottom of the mountains, usually actually there is grass, but near the tops, if you guys ever notice, when you look up at the mountains, the tops are more dirty and there's snow usually on the very tops. So I'm just covering this all as dirt. Leave that as grass. That's good enough. And I might want to bring some grass back actually. So if I want to do that, I can I can do that as well. In fact, I can make little patches of grass. If I change my brush to this one, I can make the grass look a little bit more natural and kind of like randomly splotchy instead of just like one big circle, which doesn't really look natural, right? And so I'm kind of going back here with the grass and trying to make it look a little more natural. I could also even go to the dirt one and put in some splotchy dirt throughout the map right here to kind of make it look, just a little bit more like real life, which is not just everything's this exact perfect color everywhere. There's patches, right? And so now what I want to do is I'm going to put some snow on the top of these mountains with my snow texture. So I click on my snow texture right here. Again, I'm in the terrain on the hierarchy under the inspector, under this paintbrush tool or paint terrain tool. And I'm going to change this, make sure this is on paint texture and choose the snow texture. And I want this splotchy snow texture brush. So remember, these different brushes make the snow look different. If I wanted a star of snow, I could do it, but I want this kind of splotchy looking snow. And so I'm going to start just clicking near the tops of these mountains to put some snow. And remember, you can change your viewpoint by using the scroll wheel, the right click, holding down mouse button, and the hand tool, or again, if you just click the scroll wheel in, you can do that. But I want to go back to this move tool and go back to my terrain, paint texture, and I'm going to keep painting the tops of these mountains with snow. And then go over here to these ones, start painting in these. Oops, that kind of looks a little bit unnatural. Control Z to undo, undo, undo. There we go. So I'm just trying to kind of paint the tips of these mountains as snowy. And remember, I could change the opacity of this brush to make it, where is it? Right here, to make it look a little different. You can change the brush size, to make it, if you wanted to just paint all this as snow, you could do that. I want mine a little smaller. I think that's good enough. It almost looks a little too bright, so I think I'm going to go back to my directional light and lower the brightness intensity down a little bit. That looks a little bit better. Yeah, it looks kind of weird almost. And notice that the directional light makes this side of the mountain shaded and this side's going to be brighter. So that's a little bit better right there. Anyways, so we've got that. Next step, we should add a sky. All right. And I think with the standard assets, it comes with a Skybox, I think. But I actually want to show you guys how to find a cooler one on the asset store. So let's go to the asset store here on the Unity Asset Store website, and I'm going to search for Skyboxes or Skybox. And then again, pricing, free only. Let's see. In fact, I think we can even go to assets, 3D, and I feel like it's even a category. No. Let's just search for it. Skybox. Skybox says free only. Here are some crazy space skyboxes. That's pretty cool. I'm going to use one of these. So outer space skyboxes. Let's click add to my assets. Open in Unity. Click open the link in Unity. And right here in the package manager, let's download it first. Once it's done downloading, we will import it. Ooh, this one's actually pretty big. Dang, 274 megabytes. That's a pretty large one, but this will probably look pretty cool. Keep in mind, guys, my computer's really fast and my internet connection's fast, so this stuff may take a lot longer for you, sadly. But again, if we get back to the LHS studio, we've got a computer lab there with some really powerful gaming computers that we built. I'm going to import this now from the package manager. And might take a second here. And any questions you guys have, like as I'm going through this, throw them in the chat or unmute yourself and just interrupt me. Feel free to. Okay, I'm here for you guys, but you gotta let me know if I'm going pretty fast. But remember, I'm recording this, so you guys will be able to watch this later at whatever pace that you need and rewind it as many times as you need. So I'm importing this now into my project, and in fact, I kind of forget how to throw in a. If I ever have a question on how to do something in Unity, I just go to Google and type in how to, or Unity change Skybox. And I think it's just, you just go to the, yeah, just looking this up again. This is one of the FPS mods. That's funny. Let's see. That's right. Window rendering lighting settings. So if I go now to window rendering lighting settings, I can now go to where it says Skybox material, default Skybox. Click that little circle next to it. Now it's going to show me all the possible skyboxes or pictures that I could use in this project, which in my case, let's see. So technically you can use any texture as a skybox, right? And so that's kind of the weird part about it. Here we go, galaxies. That's what I want to try. Oh, that's kind of crazy. That's pretty cool. Let's see, what else do we have? Yeah, the galaxy is pretty cool. All right, double click on that. And I think we can X out now. Hopefully that'll work. It might have to take a second to pull up. Window, rendering, lighting settings. Oops, sorry. Yeah, I don't know. This skybox I've never used before, and I think it's not working. So we might, oh, here we go, skyboxes. That's what I want. Yeah, that'll be good enough. This is basically just like a starry night. So we'll work on the skyboxes more later, but I just want to show you guys how you can do that. Next big step is I want to show you guys how to add in some trees. All right. And in our standard assets, it came with some trees in these environment folder. And so if you go to the environment folder and open up one of the trees here. Oops, let's go back to environment. Environment speed tree. I actually want to show you guys, there's a way cooler set of trees in the asset store. I'm going to go back to the asset store and show you guys this one. It's called Nature Starter Kit. So if you search for Nature Starter in the asset store, here it is for free, Nature Starter Kit 2. Click on this one. Click on Add Open in Unity, Open Link, and import. Or you have to download it first, but I've already downloaded it. So download and then import. And this is going to put these really cool looking trees and bushes that I can then use in my game. And how much time do we have, guys? We have till 12:44. All right, I'm going to try and get you guys through this. Let's import this real quick. And basically the things I'm going to do, because we don't have much time, and I know it's hard, guys, to stay focused in for this long to watch. And remember, I'm recording all this so you can go back through this on your own time over the weekend or whenever you need to do this on your own. But this is really the fun part to me of making games is the creativity and just kind of like having this freedom to kind of make your own world with Unity. And it's kind of like Minecraft just on steroids. One of you guys asked what is the game file called. I'm not sure. If you want to know what you called your game, you go into the Unity hub and it should be listed under your projects. Whatever you called it in the beginning is what it's called. But anyways, we've got this imported. So check this out. First of all, I could go and here's my assets folder. I can go and now, besides the standard assets, I have this new project or folder called Nature Starter Kit. I can go into that, go into Nature, and right here, we've got these different bushes and trees we can bring in. So if I click and drag this into my scene view, boom, I just added a tree. And if I want to zoom in on it, I can double click on that here in the hierarchy. and there's my little tree, right? And so I could sit here and drag and drop all these bushes and trees like this, it adds it to my hierarchy. But say I want to put in a lot of trees at once. I don't want to sit there and drag them one by one, right? That would be annoying. So let's Control Z to undo adding those. I want to show you, if you go to your terrain and you click on it, there is a tool there called Paint Trees. This is a way to put a lot of objects at once onto your game world, okay? So Paint Trees, Edit Trees, Add Tree, and where it says None, I click the little dot next to it, and I'm going to go find, there's some airplanes there we can use later, but I'm going to go find those bushes and trees, right? So here's some bushes. Here's a broadleaf tree. That's a good looking one. Double click, click Add. I want to add some bushes too, so click Add Tree, click the little circle. Let's go find a bush on here. But anything on here, guys, that shows up as a 3D model, you could technically use. And so now I can click on this tree right here, and you've got these settings like brush size, which shows how big the brush is going to be. So if I want to put trees on this whole area, like right here, that's a little too big. Let's lower that. Maybe all right here. And I click, boom. Look at it, just put 83 trees in this spot right here. And sometimes if it's too many trees, you can lower the tree density down. And now if I click right here, look at, there's a little less. That's actually still a lot. So I'm going to lower the tree density to really low. And it still seems like a lot. Let's try that again. Yeah, there. So you can pretty much draw in a whole forest pretty easily. And so you can see how you could play with this and, change the brush size, paint in some trees here. And if you just hold the button down, it'll just keep painting a lot of them. That kind of looks stupid right there. Control Z. I'm painting in some trees on the mountains. And this is where you get to be an artist and really just play with what looks most realistic. Grab some bushes by clicking on the bush, and now I can, let's make this brush size bigger. Now I can draw in. You can't really see them. If I zoom in, you can. There's some little bushes that look weird at first. Oh, now there you go. So I'm putting in some bushes here. And so there we go. So basically, we've got some trees in there. One thing you can also do is go to the standard assets and go to this environment and then water. And where it says water prefabs. Prefabs is the magic word for something that's already made for you. You go into that and water pro daytime. I click and drag it right here. And now I can use my move tool to bring it up and use the scale tool right here to change it and make it bigger to match this little lake thing that I made earlier, if you guys remember. And so now I've got some water in that little lake. And the next step is I just want to be able to walk around in this 3D world, right? Later on, I'll show you guys how to add buildings, airplanes, cars, whatever you want. But for now, I just want to be able to walk around and play this game, right? And so first step is to go to the standard assets folder in your project view and look for characters. Double click. First person character is going to be as if the player is looking out of his eyes. Go into prefabs and this FPS controller, click and drag it where you want the game to start, and then let go. And the only thing now which we're going to talk about, which you can see down here, there's this red error, and that's the worst part, guys, about making games and coding is errors, or bugs we call them. And you guys all know it. You probably played a game before that kept having errors or messing up. And all the error details are located here in this thing called the console. The console is all the errors that are in your game. And when you see one, right now, this is basically, the problem is that some of these assets are older than the current version of Unity. And so basically what I'm going to do here is just delete these standard assets. And it actually if I click on it right here, it shows me in the project folder where all these scripts are. And I don't need these scripts right here. So I'm just going to select all of them by clicking in here and clicking Control A to select all of them and just delete, because I don't think I need those. And that hopefully should take away my error. Now I just have more errors. Actually, I think I have to bring those back in because I think I needed some of those. So let's go to Window, Package Manager, and where it said Standard Assets, click on that, click Import to bring these back in because I actually do need some of those. I think I'm just going to try and delete the one that was giving me an issue. Because the problem, guys, is if you have one error in your game, when you go to play it, to play test it, it will say compiler errors and it won't be able to play it. And so, again, that's the only annoying thing with using assets that are a little bit older than the current version of Unity that you're on, is you might have some of those errors. So right here, I'm just going to be importing all the stuff that I just deleted. So I'm going to hit all and import to bring those back in. So if you delete something that you needed from that standard assets package, you can bring it back in by, again, going to Window, Package Manager, finding that asset on the list and clicking import to re-import those things. But this error that I have right here for this one, I'm just going to try and delete this one only. See if that will get rid of it. It might bring up another error now. Perfect. Here we go. So this is good. This is saying this project contains scripts that are old, right? And it's saying Unity will automatically upgrade these things to make them work. And so I'm going to say, yeah, I'm good. I made a backup. Go ahead, do this. And now it's going to update it so those errors should not come back now. All right. So now I should be good. These yellow errors usually don't matter. It's the red errors that will make it so that your game will not play. So I can clear these errors out. I really don't care about these. But if there's a red error, we have to fix it. All right. So that's, guys, this will be the biggest challenge as a coder or a programmer, is fixing these annoying errors. But we got them. And now we've got our FPS first person controller guy added in. And I think we should be able to hit play and test this game out after it does these updating. It's basically updating all the old stuff to make sure that it works. The console, I don't need it for now, so I'm going to click and drag it and hide it over here behind the project view. And so I can make my scene view much bigger. I don't know why it's doing that with the inspector. That's weird. In fact, let's just close that because I just want to show you guys. All right. So now if we hit play, here's the big test to see if it works. Hit play, and boom, there it is. I am now my first person character controller. I can walk around using the W, A, S, and D keys on my keyboard, or the arrows on my keyboard. I can jump with the space bar. If I hold shift, I can run and go faster. And now I can basically go and look and explore this 3D world that I just created in, what was that, like 30 minutes or so. There's the water you can see the reflection from the water in there. If you go up to one of these trees, you kind of see the detail of the trees. I've got space up there, but you guys can change what it looks like. So you can see these trees are beautiful. They're nice and 3D. You've got the bushes that I painted on there. And if we run up this mountain a little bit, we can look back down on our glorious creation and check it out from the hills. You can see, if I look closely at this ground, you can see it's just textured. It's just the same square images repeated over and over and over. So if I look down, look at that. It's beautiful, right? And so, guys, that's how you can just very quickly use Unity to make a custom, awesome 3D world with mountains, valleys, lakes. And as we go forward with this project, I'm going to show you guys how to put in your own cars that you can drive, airplanes, buildings. You can make like a whole little city in here if you wanted to. And yeah, those tutorials for the FPS microgame are awesome too, but I want to start out with Unity with this, because this is, to me, the fun part, is where you can just create these awesome looking 3D environments. And keep in mind, guys, you could create a 3D animated movie with Unity. You could turn this, you could actually make, say you have a project in history class where you're studying, I don't know, the way that the continents used to fit together or something like that. You could like make a 3D model of what you guys are studying, and try and get a level 4 or a better grade on your project by making a 3D world that your fellow students can play in. And so I could literally take this game right now, and I could actually publish this to a game online, or for people to download onto their computers and play from their own computers, which is pretty awesome. I could even turn this into an iOS or Android app if I made a couple changes to it. And that's the fun part with Unity. So Any questions, guys? I know I was trying to kind of go over that all really fast, but if you guys have any questions, put them in the chat right now. Ask them, because I'm going to try and let you guys go, because I know it's almost lunchtime and I'm sure you guys are ready to jet. Cool. Well, hopefully, I know that was kind of fast, guys. There's a lot to go through in a short amount of time, but because I am recording all of this, you guys will be able to pull this up, and I'm going to click stop recording right now.